This is my workflow. I write them in Hemingway, and then I copy and paste it into Surfer, and then I use Surfer to sharpen the pencil.
Hello and welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show,
where we provide tips and advice to improve your website's search engine ranking.
I'm Brittany Herzberg, SEO copywriter for holistic health and wellness pros who want to show up as the answer to a Googled question.
And I'm Crystal Waddell, an e-commerce seller and content creator. I help business owners communicate the value of their products and services through content so you can make more sales and grow your business.
We're business besties who love learning and sharing what we've learned. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump in.
Welcome back. We are here this week with Laura Jawad, and we are going to be talking about all things ChatGPT. And I had to say that slowly so I didn't trip over my own tongue. Hi, people. Laura, Crystal, you there?
Yeah.
So you've been here before. I think you're our very first podcast guest. So welcome back. Lovely to see you again.
Oh, I'm so super thrilled to be back.
Will you remind people who you are, what you do?
Yeah. So I am a pregnancy and postpartum personal trainer, and I used SEO to build my business. And so that is what brought me here. And now I'm also an SEO strategist.
Okay. So we're here to talk about ChatGPT. And for anyone who is new to listening to us, or maybe we haven't shared thoughts or anything like that, I do copywriting and I tend to not use AI tools. And we were talking a bit before we started recording about how Laura also really liked it sounded like the act of writing, like you just really like creating your own stuff. And that's where I'm at. So you can think of Crystal, me, and Laura as like on a sliding scale of using copywriting tools. Crystal uses Jasper. I think it sounds like Laura uses ChatGPT a lot, and I'm over here with my keyboard. So do you maybe want to tell us a little bit about how you got into using ChatGPT and how you went from like my seat over to like your seat with using it?
Yeah. So I love blogging, by the way. And if I could figure out how to just get paid to write my blog, my emails, I would be a happy girl. So that's something important to know, is that I enjoy writing. And a couple years ago, someone put Jasper AI on my radar, and I investigated that as a tool to help write some of the more dry blog posts on my site, like the teaching posts. But I could never really get into it. And part of it was because I do enjoy the writing and I like making it my own. And I never felt like I could get something that sounded like, obviously, I couldn't get something that sounded like me out of Jasper. And so I eventually gave up on it. And then when ChatGPT came out, I definitely rolled my eyes and didn't immediately look into it. And then as there was just more and more buzz, I had to try it. And while I was initially skeptical, I do find myself using it almost every day now. And part of it is because it's a more simple tool. It's a way less sophisticated tool than Jasper. Jasper's really designed around writing marketing, business content, long form content. It has all these templates and stuff inside of it. It's a very robust platform. ChatGPT is just the conversational platform, right? You type in a question, it gives you an answer. It's like the most basic web interface. But I found that it's been really accelerating mundane tasks like writing meta descriptions, helping me generate titles, helping me come up with alliteration. So it's been really nice to bounce ideas off of it, to help just streamline the description writing, the title writing, things like that. But I don't use it to, for example, write my content for me.
Got it. So you're using it more for ideation?
Yeah. That said, though, I did, just as an experiment, because I was involved in a large group discussion about ChatGPT. I did write a blog post based off of something I got out of ChatGPT. And so it's actually the most recent blog on my website right now. It's about walking. Mm-hmm. And the seed of that blog post came from ChatGPT output. And part of the reason I did it is because I wanted to test the AI detection tool. And so it was cool because the output I got from ChatGPT comes up with 100% machine written. And then by the time I massaged it into that post and put it back into the same tools, it was 0.03% machine written, right? Or 99 point whatever percent human written. And so the tool can tell the difference. And it was fun to see how I could use ChatGPT as a seed for a larger blog post. I'm playing with it.
That's cool.
I have a follow-up question to that because this is out of order in terms of talking about AI writing tools. But I think one of the biggest objections to AI writing tools is this AI detection. So I was wondering, like, if you could talk a little bit more about how you tested that to see what does that even mean? What are AI detections?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
people
so-
like me, explain that.
I can't explain the nuts and bolts to you. I don't know how they work exactly, but I do know that they're
like, what are the tools? What are what websites you go to?
Yeah. I was just going to preface it with when you generate these like predictive text generators, like when they put out content, I guess there are like electronic signatures left in the text that you can detect, right? There's ways to trace it back. I don't get it. So the tool that I used specifically is called Hugging Face OpenAI Detector. And so in terms of, yes, like this is a limitation, like it is very easy to detect AI content. And the May 2022 Google update, like specifically goes after AI content, right? If you have a ton of AI generated content on your website, Google will penalize you for that, right? And so if you're going to use these tools to support the content on your website, I think you have to be really careful to, one, doctor the output so it sounds more like you. So address the tone. Of course, run it through an AI detector when you're done working with it and make sure that it appears to the internet gods that it was written by a human. And then the other thing, and this is very much related, is run it through something like Copyscape, because the AI tools, in addition to sounding like they were written by a machine, they also plagiarize.
Yeah.
And I think Jarvis is or Jasper, what is it?
It's Jasper now.
I think Jasper is a little bit better about the plagiarism than ChatGPT, but ChatGPT has definitely been scraping direct chunks of content from websites. And I think if you're using this on your own website, like really being cognizant, and fact checking. So 4 things, right? Like doctor it for tone, fact check it, run it through the AI detection tools, and then Copyscape.
What does Copyscape do? Because I haven't heard of that one.
Copyscape is the plagiarism detector tool.
Okay.
It's a paid tool, but it is like very cheap.
Okay.
One of these things that's like pennies per article to check it.
That's good. So addressing the tone, fact checking, going through the AI detection, and then plagiarism software. This is cool. I wouldn't have even thought to do all of that stuff. Crystal, I see your hand.
Okay, so I have a few comments to make. I may lose my train of thought like usual, but I want to address a couple things. So moving like backwards to forwards from what Laura said, with Jasper, the AI that Jasper uses is like a predictive AI. So it doesn't plagiarize 99% of the time, and almost 100% of the time. Jasper will never generate plagiarized content because it doesn't copy anything. It imitates patterns that are on the internet, which is different. So if you were going to write a sentence like, I went to school blank, Jasper's going to search the internet and give you the predicted word that makes the most sense based on all the information and algorithms from 2019. So sometimes you might hear the sentence was, the sun is blank, like the sun is yellow. You might see that type of sentence multiple times across the internet. That doesn't mean it's plagiarized. It means common language. So I just want to explain how at least the Jasper algorithm works.
That's how ChatGPT is supposed to work as well, which is the interesting thing. Like it's a predictive text generator, but these issues still crop up.
So it's supposed to be predictive, but it's doing a lot of the scraping.
It appears to do some. I didn't mean to cut you off, Crystal. I just couldn't help interject. Jasper is built on a very similar model to ChatGPT. I think the technology behind them is really similar.
Yes,
I think Jasper's just done a better job of correcting for that.
Yeah. And then the next thing I was going to say is that one thing I learned, like with that May 2020 Google update, is that I believe my site might have been hit by that update because I also use Surfer. And when I learned how to use Surfer, one of the recommendations from Surfer itself, or one of the webinars, was that you could store your images on Surfer. And so I was like, oh, this is so great. I can have these giant images and they can live on Surfer. So I'll just copy and paste my Surfer article into my Shopify blog. So I want to tell you what I do instead now, because I think that is a problem. Like I really still have to comb through a lot of those blogs that I wrote because I was on fire. I was writing like 20, 30 blogs during that period of time. And every time I go back through them, I am actually deleting the server SEO art that is the image, and I'm replacing it with a native uploaded picture to Shopify. So that's one thing that I would say in terms of when you use any kind of AI copywriting tool, I would suggest that you format whatever you're doing for the platform that you're using, whether, it's Wix or Shopify or WordPress or whatever. And one thing that I would definitely do with the text is copy the text into a Google Doc, but right click it so that you copy it and paste it without formatting. And so it's a little bit of a headache to go back through and reformat the headings and things like that. But those are just a few of the things that I've started to do since I've heard about AI detection. And then the final thing would be like if you use Surfer actually now has a free integrated plagiarism tool. So you can actually check your articles for plagiarism. And what's hilarious is that I write blogs for different people, right? And so I hadn't noticed the plagiarism tool until after I'd written a blog for one of my clients and submitted it on her behalf to Google Search Console. So when I saw the plagiarism tool, I was like, oh, let me check this out. It found that article and said that it was plagiarized, but it was the exact same article. So it was really funny. But I do appreciate that Surfer has built that tool into the Surfer SEO offer now. So I just wanted to throw that out there in response to all the things that Laura was talking about.
Yeah. I'll just add to the Surfer conversation and say, I think Surfer is like the best of AI when it comes to supporting SEO. I use Surfer on most of my blog articles. So the one that I just put up, this walking one that I referred to that I just used as like a test to see how I could have ChatGPT kind of assist a blog post. I didn't optimize that in Surfer because I didn't write that with SEO in mind necessarily. But for most of my articles, I write them in Hemingway. This is my workflow. I write them in Hemingway and then I copy and paste it into Surfer. And then I use Surfer to sharpen the pencil. And I'm finding that the article, like since I've started doing that, my articles get picked up by Google way faster.
That's really cool.
So I think in general, Surfer is a really powerful tool. And I think because it doesn't put an AI stamp on your work the same way that something like Jasper or ChatGPT might, because it's not generating any text for you. Like for people who aren't familiar with it, Surfer SEO is a tool that helps you optimize your articles for SEO based on your focus keyword, related keywords that Google expects to see in an article about your focus keyword. And then also for the number of images, the number of headings, the word length that an article with that focus keyword should have in order to compete with the current top 10 Google search results. So it really just provides like it's like a bumper lanes, right? If you're going bowling, like I feel like Surfer provides like bumpers for you, like to write your article and stay within these parameters to have a good shot at ending up on page 1. But you write all your own text. So it's very different from these other tools in that regard.
I muted myself. How that was graceful. I was like, I want to talk. I've seen Surfer, and that's the one that has the really cool gas gauge. So, or at least Crystal has called it the gas gauge. So it tells you like, this isn't performing so hot or this wouldn't perform its best, but here's what you can do to optimize it. And it's really, really cool to be able to see that as you're actually creating the thing. So I haven't been the best at using it, but I can definitely see. And I would also agree with you that I think it probably is the best tool that I've seen as far as helping you to optimize content that you're putting out there.
Yeah, it's my favorite for sure. I recommend try it on a few articles. You'll get hooked. But I like it because you can write articles in there so you can optimize before you publish. But then you can also, for older articles, you can give it a URL and a focused keyword you are hoping to rank for. And then it'll tell you what your score is. So it'll give you the gas gauge and then it'll tell you what you can do to improve that score. So you can use it. It's really nice.
I'm selfishly making a note for myself to do that.
Yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to bounce back to what Laura was talking about earlier
it's funny because we've talked about creating this show because we want to help other entrepreneurs not feel so alone. And when I first discovered Jasper, and this is before Jasper Chat came out, before ChatGPT came out, I used to ask Jasper questions. So if I was a little bit unfamiliar with the topic, knowing that Jasper knows, so much of the internet before 2019, I would ask Jasper like some statistics or some background information on a topic that I wanted to understand more. And like for purposes of illustration, let's say UX design, because I'd heard about UX design and I was interested in it, but I didn't fully understand what it meant. And so I would actually have conversations with this tool about UX design. And so I thought it was really interesting when you were talking about how you were using ChatGPT and, how it's just like this natural chat back and forth. It's like actually a way to bounce ideas off of something. Yeah. Get feedback and new ideas. Jasper created this new concept for my business for Collage and Wood, where we make these giant photo collages. One of Jasper's call to action in one of the generated like AIDA formulas or whatever was to ship the collages in a custom keepsake box.
That's how you got that idea?
That's where I got that idea.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's now a major upsell for our collages. And people in their reviews have actually mentioned the box as one of their favorite things about the whole process. And that was a Jasper generated idea.
That's wild. I'll say the only time that I've actually gone in and used, I don't think if I did use Jasper, I only used it once. But the only time I've really used ChatGPT, I wasn't actually using it. I was in a webinar that Brenda McGowan was doing, and she was sharing how she likes using it, especially related to pre-launch. And so she was like I remember she took a lot of testimonials, client language, and she dropped it in there. And then she asked it a question about it. Like, what are the top 5 problems that clients are having or clients are commenting on, or however she phrased it. So I could see definitely how these programs would help you ideate, but also I noticed how it helps you to organize things. So that was very interesting. And well, I guess this falls under ideation too, but the death stare of the blinking cursor, how it's just like staring at you and you're like, I don't know what to write. Like this for sure would help you get out of your writer's block. I could see those 3 things.
Yeah, absolutely. I've asked ChatGPT the question and it'll give you a response. And 9 out of 10 times, the response is not dialed in because it's not appropriate to my population, or it's not nuanced enough, but sometimes just saying, oh, that would be a cool way to approach this is just enough to get me writing. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I could see that. So I'm still I still haven't brought it into my practice, but it's very interesting to hear how both of you are using it.
Yeah. So I told you before the call, I was going to share a couple of ways that I've used ChatGPT in the last week. So I already told you I did use it to seed a blog post, which is not something I regularly do. That was really just an experiment. But things that I've used it for, I put that article, I uploaded it last night by WordPress. And usually I spend quite a bit of time thinking about my meta description. And I'm in the middle of a launch. I just don't have time right now. And so I asked ChatGPT to write me a 155 character meta description containing a particular focus keyword about the following text. I just pasted the whole blog article into the chat box. And it came up with something pretty darn good. And again, I had to tweak it because the output was really generic. It wasn't specific to pregnant and postpartum people, which my article was. So I tweaked that output, but it saved me so much time. It saved me so much time. It came up with something very good. It was I'm going to have this write all my meta descriptions now. I've used it to help with headlines when I'm having trouble coming up with a nice headline. And I like it because you can say, give me a headline that's under 55 characters, right? You can give it these constraints, and it's very good with that. And I've also used it to help me with, I think alliteration is the wrong word, but the example is I've been percolating this idea for a piece that it's kind of 5 ingredients, 5 pillars of X. And 4 of my 5 started with a P. And I was like, oh, it'd be cute if I could make them all start with a P.
Yeah.
And so I explained it. I went into ChatGPT and I was like, hey, and I do talk to it like a person, which is a little bit embarrassing, but I'm like, hey, Like, I'm writing this article about XYZ, and here are like the 5 points that I want to make. Can you make point number 5 start with a P?
Mm.
And it did. It came up with something so good, and I just wouldn't have come up with it. And now it's so much cuter because I have these 5 Ps.
That is cute. I love alliteration.
So I've really been using it just as a coworker, right? Can you help me with this task? And just to what Crystal said earlier, when you're working alone and you just need to like bounce ideas, it's just so good. Yes, Crystal.
I just love this so much because, and we've talked about this before, but this whole idea of giving every tool that you work with a job. And I have meant to go through and just create a master job board of all of the hats that I wear in my particular businesses, and then let these AI tools fill the roles. Because even using a scheduling tool or organization software like Notion or ClickUp or whatever, now you have a personal assistant that's reminding you of the tasks that you need to do. We just talked about that a few weeks ago. But yeah, having Jasper to just brainstorm ideas with, and the other idea that we want to say the same things over and over again, but to ourselves, we sound redundant. Mm-hmm. Using a tool like Jasper, I can create the same type of content so many different ways. I didn't even realize there were so many different ways to say the same thing. And because I saw Jasper outline it, how these different ways to say it, then I realized, oh, of course I need to say it over and over again because there's different ways of looking at it. And I'm really grateful to the whole process because like meta descriptions, are you kidding me? With e-commerce, we got to create like 70, 80 meta descriptions. I'm sorry. I just don't have the brain power for that. And especially they have to be a certain number of characters or whatever. The keyword has to be in a certain spot. So these tools just really make it a more level playing field for smaller businesses, whether it's a team of 1 or a team of 2 or a team of 5. It just really helps all of us generate what we need so much faster.
I can definitely see the use case for them. So, and like I said, it's very interesting.
But I want to make sure we also touch on some just cognizant of time. And I feel like this conversation would be incomplete without talking about the limitation. And I think like one of the major limitations and one of the major reasons I don't use it to write, for example, my blog articles is because these tools are riffing on what already exists, right? Like they're trained on the internet in a particular year and they don't come up with original content. So I think that they work really well if you're trying to write a 101 article, right? Like you're describing a topic. But I think if you want to be a thought leader and you want to create truly original content, I love how Marisa Corcoran talks about it. Like ChatGPT can't create an uncopyable message. I think she put it so well when she said that. But I think that's where we have to be really careful because I think it's really easy to get excited about you really can create a lot of volume with these tools. But if you want to be a thought leader in your space, you do have to write your own stuff because Google is going to reward original content, but also like you become better at what you do by writing your own content. Like I learned through writing. It's how I process things. And if I didn't do all that writing and processing, I would be less good at what I do. I would be giving up an opportunity to deepen my own knowledge and expertise if I let a tool do all my writing for me. So I think those are 2 really good reasons to really think about how you're going to use the tools. Like obviously there's so many good uses of these tools. I am not anti-ChatGPT, but I do think being thoughtful about the application is important.
And I would even say just really quick, just one line, like it helps you when you're doing your writing, when you're doing the ideation, it helps you also be like, this is the opinion that I have. You may find that because of the ideas that you get, but like it allows you to have the space to have an opinion.
No, I think that's great. And that's what I was going to say with what Laura was talking about. I think you get better. I think I got better and more confident in what I'm doing because I was researching like the different ways that people do things. The other advantage I see to having the mindset that, hey, look, this information, number one, may or may not be correct because I have a client who is in the finance area and the information that's out there about taxes and different things,
people are just imitating other people who are ranking. And if that first person wasn't correct in what they were saying, then they're all imitating something that's not even true. So this was an opportunity for her to come in and say, hey, this is what's really going on with this particular topic. This is the truth, not the replicated wrong message over here. Let me give you 2023 information, and this is the truth. So I love it too, because it gives you an opportunity to see the new angles. And especially if you have a way, if you are generating ideas and you're creative and you have a way of doing something that's not what 2019 says, then there's a huge opportunity for you to share. I'll say it again. When Clubhouse came around, I was having conversations with Pinterest leaders, and I'm going to put that in quotation marks, Pinterest leaders who were talking about stuff was what other people had taught for years and years. But I'm actively using Pinterest every day for a Shopify store. And I'm telling people about features that they never heard about before because they're happening now. They're not what happened over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think that all of these tools, I'm 100% in favor of them, and I love them, and I have so much fun with them. But I think that they are a place where our creativity can just launch off of. It's a boost. It's a boost for what we already do. And if we already do it well, we're going to continue to do it well. But if you're going to depend on it and not create anything new, then it's not going to serve a helpful purpose for the user or the reader or anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. These tools are only as powerful as the inputs that you enter.
There's a name for that. It's called prompt.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Art, right? Art. It still requires like good ideas and good thought organization. And just to make a little note about what you just said, this kind of comes back to my 4 little rules for using ChatGPT that we talked about earlier, but like fact checking, man, like these tools don't know truth from lie. They do not know that's something that you're not capable of yet. And so they do generate false information. And so you cannot count on them to be factually correct.
Yep.
So it's super important for you to understand.
And we talked about that before. I don't remember who we were talking with, but just the fact that others don't understand the human experience and they don't understand nuance. They don't understand emotions and feelings, even though they think they do. According to that Bing chatbot, I don't know if you heard about the funny/horror stories from that thing that was like getting upset and calling people names and different things because no, he was sure it was 2021. But yeah, I think there's good and there's bad. And that the thing that bothers me the most about tools like this is that you always have those bad kids in the class, who no matter what, they're going to do the wrong thing because they want attention or because they want the easy way or whatever. And so you've got people out there generating like horrible things that suit their hateful agendas or whatever. And it's why do great things always have to be abused?
The power's in the hands of the user.
Exactly. So that's the major negative that I see. But for marketing, oh my gosh, like the possibilities and the ideas that can be generated. Every person that I've ever created, say, a problem agitate solution formula for their product or for their business. I'm like, tell me about your business. And they tell me about their business. I put it into Jasper, spits something out, and people are like on the floor. Oh my God. I can't believe that. So amazing. And I know that's how I felt the first time I used it too. But it's like makes our own words better if you give it those great prompts. And I know there's so much negative, but from the marketing side, there's so much positive. And I just want to stress that as well.
And I feel like humans it's not going to, your jobs aren't going to go anywhere. And I just had this conversation with someone this morning. Like, oh my gosh, is it going to take over my job? No, it's not going to be able to do what you're going to do, period. But it is a tool and it can be a very helpful tool.
I have to push back on that because I think it will take jobs. It will take jobs of the people who are not continuing to innovate. And part of that for me is sad. But the other part of me is, look, you can't just sit back and say, 15 years ago, this is what we did. The world is so different now. And so I do feel like the people who are not looking forward or who may have gotten complacent, like complacency is being exposed over the world. There's just so much more of a lens on it. So it's like in those areas, there's going to be some upheaval and it may not be pretty. So I can't say that I don't think it's going to take jobs. I think it will. Some for the better and some for the worse.
You do it. I think it'll create jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can I share a funny story? And I wish I could remember the exact prompts that I put in. I was trying to have ChatGPT help me write some little blurb and it was like super boring. And so I asked it if it could write something edgier. And it replied and said that it was not allowed to write like rude, offensive, or vulgar content. And so it could not like fulfill my request. I was like, is that what edgy means? It was like, I just wanted something that just sounded like a little bit more fun than whatever it had output. And I thought it was really interesting because there is this concern about all of the racist, xenophobic, offensive content that it was generating for a time. I don't know if it's still generating some of that, but clearly they're trying to train it to not provide all that. Like, and I couldn't believe my question got flagged because I'm sure people are asking it to do worse stuff. I thought it was funny, but I just thought I would share that.
You pushed the wrong button.
And I'll say, like, I always have Search for SEO open. I always have ChatGPT open. And then my other favorite tool is Hemingway.
Yeah. Have you seen, I think it's called Vocalize. Justin Blackman came out with it. And that's actually like a tone version of Hemingway. It's more for copywriters, like for tone. No, what did I call it?
Okay.
It's verbatim.brandvoiceacademy.com, but it's a brand voice tool. So it's a little bit more for copywriters is the way that they designed it, but it's fascinating. So that's another thing that gets more into like tone of voice and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think here's the thing is like, there's good and bad with all these tools. And I think, and it's definitely easy for me to be a curmudgeon. And like, when these new things come out, my tendency is to be like, need that. But I'm really challenging oh my God, no, I resist change, but I'm really challenging myself to explore these things because I think you mentioned it earlier, right? Like if you don't, you're going to be left in the dust because there is so much potential in all of these tools and you're just doing yourself a disservice by not exploring them. And then you get to choose, like you get to pick and choose which ones work for you and actually support your workflows and support your creativity. But you owe it to yourself to try them, explore them, know what they do, learn their limitations, and let them assist you so you can focus on like the stuff you're really good at.
The other thing that I love about it is you just said workflows. And I think workflows is a term that is really easily overlooked by all of us because we're just in it and we're doing things all the time. And then we forget to write down the actual workflow. So when you go to either get some help or use a program of some sort, there's no information to input, right? So I'm like, what I love about Jasper is I can go to Jasper right after this is over. I'm going to go to Jasper and do this, but I can say, hey, create a blog workflow because I'm creating a blog workflow right now for my client because there's a difference between the workflow of say, I create the strategy, you assign it to writers, or if we're going to utilize AI, there's some different things. It can help you break through your own bottlenecks. And so that's another way to use it where you're not actually writing something for the internet. I do a lot of my own writing, but what I use Jasper for is to break through different roadblocks that I have that may or may not have anything to do with copywriting.
That's awesome. Are there any other thoughts that you thought of, Laura?
No, I think we've heard everything. Really what I wanted to talk about was the advantages and the disadvantages, right? Mm-hmm. And then really just put front and center kind of those 4 rules for people who are using this to create a lot of content on their website to make sure that their AI generated content really is working for them and for their website as opposed to against them.
Yeah. I like that. I think it was really interesting to hear just like how both of you use them and the good and the bad, like you said, and then the best practices and even the workflow. Like I thought it was really cool to hear all about that. Can you tell us like where can people connect with you? Where can they find you? All the good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm working on a new website, but currently folks can still find me at laurajawad.com, which is my personal training website. But if you would like to connect with me, you can get on my SEO newsletter, which is laurajawad.com/SEO-newsletter. That will hook you up with my SEO content. And then I will let you, Brittany and Crystal, know when I have my new website up.
Yeah.
That'll be up soon.
Yay. That's really exciting. Thanks for being back and joining us again. I'm glad that we covered this topic because it's been such a hot topic recently.
Yeah, it's super fun to have an opportunity to talk through it because it is so relevant.
Yeah.
When B told me that you wanted to come on and talk about this, I was like, oh,
your face has been lit up this entire podcast. I just need you to know that, like, probably more so than any other podcast. Like, you love these tools.
Yeah, it's my favorite topic. And you know what? The last thing I just want to say is that I just feel like it evens the playing field for really small businesses. There's such pressure in the online world to do all these things. But then there's pressure. Oh, you don't have to wear all the hats. Offload that. And it's, look, if I'm not generating 150 G's a year, I have no business hiring a bunch of people. You got to get to that point first. And these tools help you get to that point without killing yourself. Bam.
Beautifully said.
Love it.
All right. Thanks again. We will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, friend.
Bye. Bye, Laura.
Thanks for joining us today.
If you like this info, subscribe before you go so you never miss out on something related to SEO.
See you next time. Hey guys, this is Crystal, one of your co-hosts from the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. If you're looking for a unique, handcrafted way to spruce up your home or office, then collagenwood.com is the perfect place for you. We are a small, woman-owned business that offers a range of beautiful wooden signs for your home or office. Our talented team of artists will work with you to create a sign that perfectly suits your needs. So why wait? Use promo code SIMPLE10 to save 10%. Visit collagenwood.com today. Save 10% with promo code SIMPLE10. That's collagenwood.com.